You're like a circle that floats around me, keeping me safe and sound. And when I fall, you tied a rope to me. You're blessing me every day. I was down with an illusion, like a sparrow with broken wings. But now I shine with your reflection on me. I'm getting back up on my feet. That you showed up was written in the palm. You are a statement, explode like a bomb. I get to push myself to victory. You make me winner. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way. You showed me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way. You showed me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. Yes, I'm the winner, yeah. 'Cause I'm the winner, yes. Am I awake or am I dreaming? So far gone, I won't look back. And when I move, there ain't no stopping me. You're pushing me up to the top. I saw the clouds looking angry, but then the sky reached my mind. And when I spaced out, I see the possibilities unfolding the way that I want. That you showed up was written in the palm. You are a statement, explode like a bomb. I get to push myself to victory. You make me winner. You cut me loose and set me free. You cut me loose. You make me win in every way. Win in every way. You show me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way. You show me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. Yes, I'm the winner, yeah. 'Cause I'm the winner, yes. 'Cause I'm the winner, yeah, yeah, yeah. Ooh. Yes, I'm the winner, yeah.
Hello, I'm sorry. I hit the wrong button right there. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us, the co-authors for Heels to Deals. If you're joining on LinkedIn or Twitter or YouTube, I appreciate you. So thank you for joining us. So excited about this book coming out on International Women's Day. First, before we get to the authors and everything going on, I do have one bit of business. I've got to award a free book. So on my last LinkedIn Live, we had one person who was the most just conversational with the other attendees, someone who really stood out as someone who's looking for information on how to get into tech sales. And so happy to say that Leanne Matthews has won a Heels to Deals book. So yay! So excited. So, and she's aspiring to get into the industry. So if there's anyone out there looking for someone
Eugene
comes into a LinkedIn Live to learn about how to get into the industry, reach out to Leanne Matthews. I'm going to tag her on this. So let's get to it. I'm so happy. Anyone who's joining us, thank you so much again. Of course, I've got Heidi with me. Girls Who Sell. I'm always happy to have you on LinkedIn Live, but then we've also got Eugene Shim from Brighter. So I want to take a couple of minutes and just acknowledge Eugene, and then Eugene, just share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. It's a pleasure being here. And although I'm not an author because I'm not a woman in sales, I am a salesperson. I have been for most of my professional career, so call it 25 years and counting or so. And the short story is I was introduced to Heidi, and I was immediately intrigued and super excited just to be part of not just today's event, but really a sponsor at my current company called Brighter. And why? I think the why is fairly simple. It's that I believe we have a parity problem. I don't know that that's my own opinion. I think we could quickly observe throughout my career, especially in tech sales, we are lacking women. We are lacking women in almost every role from leadership all the way down. And my request to Heidi was, how can I help? I think diagnosing and seeing this disparity is quite easy. What's harder, especially for a male like myself, is what can I do to be part of the solution? So to that end, I think there's a few things that I'm trying to do, and then I'll throw the baton back over to you, Jen. First, I think it's important that I listen and learn. I want to say I'm a fairly good listener. I try to be as a salesperson, but in particular, listen to women like Heidi and the co-authors here on how they carved a path, what's important to you, and ultimately try to empathize as a male on what is important to you. We're trying to do that. I'm also trying to meet women where they are. So organizations like this and the book signing that Heidi and the team will do, I'm honored to be part of meeting all these wonderful, successful women. And finally, I think it's really important that we create a podium for the women that organizations are lucky enough to attract. A quick example would be I brought on one of my female AEs from a previous life. Not a surprise, she might be my number one rep at my current company now, but she's taken the initiative to create a women's group and another woman in sales group at my company. So allowing a podium and as a leader, really amplifying the message while I learn is something that I'm trying to do more of. So I look forward to now sitting back and learning from the ladies. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being a sponsor, which I'm sure Heidi will say at any moment. But Leanne is actually joining us. So thank you, Leanne. Congrats on the book. And I'm so glad you're getting value out of these sessions. We do have a special guest, though. So before we get to Heidi, let me add someone else here.
Oh.
Greetings from our kitchen.
So cute.
Oh. Greetings. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So what made you decide to pop in?
Oh, like I had a choice.
This is my husband. Everybody.
You noticed the last names, right?
Who is my husband, David, who's supporting me and has been is an incredible ally. Now you're going to make me cry. Stop.
Oh,
I can't believe you popped in. It's so sweet.
I said I would if I could get done in time.
Are y'all in the next room right now? Y'all are.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I'm in my office actually. So.
That's
well,
awesome.
thank you for hopping in. I really appreciate it. And
no, it's my pleasure. I'm hoping to learn something because most of my industry is actually women.
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
It helps to know who I'm sitting across the table from.
That's wonderful. I had Jenny Anderson on, maybe was it last week? I don't know. Time just kind of evolves. Anyway, we talked about that. There are some industries where women they're all women, right? And they do amazing. And then there are some industries where you see less. So we're hoping to change that.
Well, no, the number 1, 2, and 3 salespeople in my office, and there's 500 of us, are all women.
He's in the real estate industry, so it's pretty female dominated.
Yeah, my realtor was a woman.
So was
all
mine.
Right.
Thank you for joining us. That's awesome. I loved it. That was a surprise. That was cool.
It was completely surprised me.
You're like, wait, what? You're right there.
All right. Heidi, why don't you tell us why you started this project and about the book and share?
Yeah. So Jen, first of all, thank you so much for all these LinkedIn Live and all the promotion that you've been doing of the book and for your contribution to the book. I sincerely appreciate it. And Eugene, of course, thank you to you for being an incredible male ally, and also to Brighter for sponsoring the event. It means so much. We couldn't do it without you, quite frankly. But yeah, so let me talk a little bit about the origin of all of this. It's so phenomenal to actually see this, like, an idea come to fruition. But Girls Who Sell was started in the early part of 2021. Actually, we launched in January 2021 with the mission to not only democratize sales, to what you were talking about, Eugene, but also to build the largest pipeline of diverse early stage female sales talent. I think representation matters. It's incredibly important, and that particularly, the youth are our future. And as we try to solve for the pipeline problem that we do have, and begin to position sales as a viable career choice, I felt that starting with college age and early college graduates and high school students, I've even been encouraged to go younger, even starting in middle school, talking about sales and the opportunities in sales. And so that was really the mission of Girls Who Sell. Now, about the book, I had worked with Bridget McGowan on a prior project last year. We had done a leadership book together called Upward: Leadership Lessons for Women on the Rise. And after we completed that project, it was such an amazing experience. I contacted Bridget and I said, listen, I really want to do something to amplify the voices of women in sales, and a diverse group of women from all around the world, and really demonstrate to emerging talent that sales is a viable career choice, and begin to dispel some of the misperceptions or conceptions and negativity around sales. And what better way to do that, to inspire the next generation of young leaders, than to focus on telling the stories and sharing the journeys of other women that are at the top of their careers. And so I am so blessed that I began to just really reach out and do some homework of who are the voices out there, who are the women that are really moving the needle and really making a difference in the world of sales. And here we are. We have 33 incredible women from all over the world. But I got to tell you, Jim, what started out as a way to just share stories and maybe some wisdom and knowledge and some tips and tricks around sales has become so much more. As I read the stories of all of these women, it is so incredible to see the insurmountable odds that women have gone through to make them, to have an incredibly successful career in sales, emerging from homelessness or generational poverty, or from single motherhood or abusive relationships, or, I mean, I could just go on, and I'm not going to give it all away because you got to read the book. But I mean, the stories are absolutely incredible. And what I love is that even though we all come from different, races and backgrounds, and all different parts of the world, and just I don't think that we could get a more diverse group of women that's represented in this book. Somehow we all found our way into professional sales and are successful. So I think it shows, particularly to young women, that no matter what your background or whatever your challenges might be, that sales, there's a home for you in sales.
100%. And I love the storytelling I think there's so much power in someone's unique journey and them being able to share that journey to inspire others. So thank you so much. I appreciate everything you do for women and everything you're doing with Girls Who Sell. But let's get into the co-authors now. Stella, why don't you go first? Tell us a little bit about you, about your chapter, anything you'd like to share.
Of course. Thank you, Heidi, for having me be a part of this lovely, lovely community, and Jen for this opportunity. I would say I'm a newbie. I was a former educator, so it's funny that Heidi bring up middle school. I was a middle school special education teacher. And so right when I get my copy, I am driving it over to Glenview and having them, add it to their library, because I think this is extremely important. And as someone who transitioned, 6 months ago into tech, I had no idea what sales was like. And I still had the, the used car salesman idea in my brain. And I honestly thought it was this, robocall and not filled with strategy. And as I started getting into the community, I thought, wow, there's so much strategy into it. You are finding the right fit candidate or customer. You're asking a bunch of questions to ensure that it is the right fit, and then continuing to monitor and check in with customers. And that's similar to what I did for 10 years in teaching. And I say, if I can convince a 12-year-old to read Shakespeare, I'm pretty okay with doing anything else. So bring it on, SaaS, whatever your product is, as long as it's something that I honestly believe will help a human with, making their day in life easier, then I'm for it. So as long as, I can get behind what it is, I'm good to go to sell it. I'm definitely at the beginning stages of my career, so I'm just soaking this all up, and I'm really excited to read everyone's chapter and learn from you all. I've already learned a ton through the Slack community, through the LinkedIn chats, and so I really appreciate being here with you all. Thanks.
Thank you, Stella. I really appreciate that story. I have a 10-year-old that's getting ready to go into middle school. And ironically, today, she brought home a job offer letter as part of her field trip that's happening next week. Totally bummed I'm going to miss this field trip. But they're going to this business complex and are going to go work for the day in a job role. So she's like
that's so cool.
Yeah, a savings officer for Bank of America next week. Wow. And I'm like, look at you, you're in sales. My heart all warm and fuzzy. So thank you for sharing that. Anyone else have any thoughts or insights they'd like to share with Stella?
I would say, Stella, I've been in the sales SaaS world for a little bit now, but I'm starting a new chapter of the way I sell, and more so being just wanting so much to have these relationships built. That's, building this foundation that is going to go with me no matter where I am. If I'm a teacher, if I'm in education, if I am a used car saleswoman, whatever it is, if I am excelling in sales, but I'm still, I'm learning how the difference between selling a product and a service and how opposite the two can be, but they're so similar in the same sense, to where when you break it all down, everything boils down to people. And it is all about the human touch and being authentic and showing up and showing you care, because when you give, it comes back, but you don't expect it. I never expected to be a part of any of this, and it was such an honor to be asked to do so. Just like you, I'm in all sitting over here too, so I am right there along with you.
I love that.
You know what, Stella? I love though too. I've had a lot of women from the education community, and Jeanette, I know you have a teaching background as well. I think maybe a few others do, but I think it's so interesting that you've made that transition. And I definitely think that the skills that you have as a teacher are absolutely transferable. That's why you're such a rock star. I mean, you hit the ground running. I mean, you've only been doing this for such a short time, and look, here you are. So I just think it's great. So what advice might you give to other educators that may be thinking about making a shift?
I would say get on LinkedIn, network with all these lovely ladies. Here's 33 awesome females to chat with, and asking them about their journey and how they got started and what's, I call it the good, bad, and ugly. So, what's a good day? What is the bad day? And what's the ugly look like? Because, it's not rainbows and butterflies each day. So yeah, that would be the biggest thing. Talk to the people in the roles that are currently doing it now.
Wonderful. All right. So Amelia, why don't you share, since you're the one who commented first? So yeah.
Well, I am happy to. Well, I'm like I said, I'm so honored to be a part of this. I was chatting with Heidi months ago, and we ended up having this conversation that was not geared towards anything related to the book, Girls Who Sell, all of that. And it turned out being this whole conversation of just us being girlfriends and chatting. Literally, it was us just bonding and just hitting it off as just friends and saying, wow, what about this? What about that? And just having these ideas and just kind of brainstorming. And I was sharing part of my life and my story with her. I'm a single mother of two little girls, and who are 5 and 7, who are precious but drive me nuts. But I love them with all my heart, of course. But Heidi said, well, we need to make them little junior ambassadors for Girls Who Sell. And I mean, I started having tears in my eyes, of course, because I'm like, holy cow, this is the greatest thing ever. She sends me the certificates for my 2 girls. And so I've got them framed. I wish I had them right now. I have them framed in their room. And so, we talked about what it is to sell, because they didn't know what it was. They're kids right now, or, even elementary school, even middle school, some it's where, okay, what are our parents doing at home? Why are you home all day? What are you even doing? What is sales? What do you mean? I told my youngest not long ago, okay, mommy is starting a new job, and this is about 2 months ago, and she goes, no, mommy, your job is to be a mommy. You're not going to be our mommy. And I said, no, baby, no, that's not it. It's the mommy, of course, it's going to be a mommy first, but mommy is going to be the very best mommy she can be, very best Amelia she can be, very best professional she can be in what I do, which is sales. So it was, being able to have that experience through Girls Who Sell, and just a simple conversation that became so much more, is amazing to me to have that, enlighten my little girls, and they can see their mother working hard and trying and her best and strategizing and figuring out different ways to go about sharing what I believe and what my truths are, and challenging that status quo with whatever it is that I feel as though will be beneficial for others and myself. There's ways to go about doing things. There's, you don't reinvent the wheel, right? But you also test new things, and you don't step back just because it is a male dominated world out there in the sales field. Yeah, it is. But you got to step up, and you got to hold your sword high, and you got to say, hey, I'm here and I'm ready to go. And I'm just grateful to be here. I mean, it's really awesome. I'm pretty confused still how in the world I'm amongst these women. I'm not kidding. I am really confused, but I've told myself since I was in 9th grade, I said, I have it written down still, one day you will write a book. And I have always said that my story is not done. My story is not done. I've got to do this, that, cop out probably, just pushback. But this is the trajectory of my life, and the way, happenstance, circumstance, whatever it may have been, this is the way that my life went. And this opportunity presented itself to where this is one of my chapters for my full chapter, or my full book that I eventually will do. So I'm grateful for this chapter being one of the big ones for me in my career.
That's beautiful. I absolutely love that this one chapter is part of that bigger book, that whole story that you're going to write about your career journey. And funny enough, I have a book that I've rewritten, and written again like 3 times. Like,
Right.
we've taken one perspective.
Right.
Now I'm a little bit positive place. It's another perspective. And it's
Mhm.
like, now it's become I have no idea what my goal is with the book. And that's why it's being rewritten 3 times. But it's an evolution. Everyone's journey is an evolution, and it's about enjoying the journey. And I love how you said that. So that's beautiful. Anyone else have any other thoughts for Amelia?
Yeah, I would love to pop in here.
Yeah.
When you're talking about being a mom, both you and Jen, that's something that really is close to my heart. I'm a boy mom. That's what I like to tell everyone. And when I think about, I was literally pregnant with my second son when I was at the height of my sales career. And believe it or not, the year 2013, I was the first woman to get pregnant at this company in sales. And they had no policies, right? Like literally no policies.
You rewrote the manual.
You wrote the book.
I literally wrote the book. You're talking about writing the book? I literally wrote the book because they didn't want to pay me my commission. They didn't. I mean, and so again, one thing that a challenge that a lot of women have is, how can I have a family and have a sales career? Mm-hmm. And I think that one thing that you said that is so near and dear, I'm like in a hotel room literally right now, right? And I still have 2 boys and they're still in school, right? It's like, you can have both. You can do both. And I think like when you're talking to your girls and like, yeah, mommy got a new job, but I'm still mommy, right? So that really resonated with me.
I love that. I love that. Girl mom and boy mom and moms all over in this book. It's amazing. It's and that is so true. And, it's where you can be all the things that you want to be. If you put you got to take care of you too. Mm-hmm. That's a big thing. You got to take care of you, but also push those boundaries, make sure that you show up, because that's the thing. I mean, because there's that underdog mindset, there's a champion mindset. And I'm a firm believer in always having that underdog mindset, even if I'm on top, because you're gonna say, okay, I know that I can still go further. I can go further. I can still beat this. I can still go. And it's not always about winning. We're all salespeople. We're all competitive, right? But it is where when you tell yourself you're going to do something and you write it down and you believe wholeheartedly and you've got little people watching you too, that's a whole nother ball game. When you have that self-belief. Easier said than done, for sure.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for sharing. That's awesome. Yeah. So does anyone else have any other thoughts to share? No? So we'll start going like Hollywood Squares style here. Jeanette.
Hey everyone. Yeah. So I'm so excited to be a part of this book. I'm actually, B2B sales was a second career for me. So believe it or not, when my son graduated high school, I flipped over and started a new career. But what was so exciting is that in 2019, I actually really felt God laying it on my heart to really own my story and to share my story. And the one person I actually happened to share that with was Heidi. Believe it or not, in 2019. And now 3 years later, I am now owning my story and sharing my story as being, I started out very young. I was a young teen mom and trying to keep my personal and my career life very separate. So because I never really shared my age, to be honest, they knew I had kids. They knew they were older. So they just assumed I looked really great for my age. So I went with it and never once, shared that. But again, so my chapter is really owning my story and talking about, first focus is really on my life, and what leads me to a great career. And truly, finding myself. And I really did not feel completely fulfilled, even though, I had a great job. I had a great career. I even taught college for 6 years as well. But I wasn't truly fulfilled until honestly when I came into B2B sales. And so really understanding that and then making that change. And I'm going to tell you, the naysayers were plenty. They're like, oh my goodness, you're a numbers girl, you're a data girl, you're a people leader, you shouldn't be doing that, it was just really comical. You're gonna be traveling all the time. How are you, you still have a daughter in high school, how are you gonna do that? Well, that never came up for my husband, but okay, good question. So anyways, I was really excited. So again, I was really excited to be asked to be a part of this book and own my story and my journey, which, you know what, I never imagined was that B2B sales was an option for me. So it was a complete coincidence that I entertained it. I jumped over quickly. And then the second half of my chapter is really focusing on how I transitioned quickly. And within a year or two, I was exceeding and being quite successful. And so I'm very passionate about education. I'm very passionate about especially high school, urban, low income, really focusing on that area I came from and really trying to say, hey, you know what, there are other options out there and there's financially lucrative options and bring awareness to that. So the Girls Just Sell mission is a passion of mine. And I'm so blessed to have Heidi, who created the vision and is letting me be part of it.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. So Lydia here shares in the comments, I was fired not once, but twice from a job because I was pregnant. And I just wondered if any of you have any thoughts on that? Like, what are some of the things you might have experienced in your career?
It's interesting. I started my sales career at big corporate America. And I started in an inbound call center, worked my way to an outbound call center, really kind of did my chops with, cold calling. And, I really became that salesperson. But I always felt like I had to be in earlier than the guys and I had to stay later than the guys just to be equal. Right. And there was always this feeling of, I was early 90s, when I started in my sales career, and it was always working harder than everyone else. But I appreciate that now. And I'm glad it's getting better because I think it is getting better. But I think because I had that pressure, I had to do it better. Right. I had to think smarter and I had to outsell. And I found the best way to do that was to create deeper relationships. I was at one point in a sales, I don't play golf. Right. And like that was an issue. And I realized like that's where the men were building, and women played golf. I'm not saying, but that's the typical where they were building this rapport. And I found that I had to build other ways, build relationship in new ways, in different ways, and how to create value versus just good old boy stuff. So I'm devastated for Lydia.
Yeah.
It's a terrible thing to go through. For my path, it was probably why I am where I am today, because I had to fight through the weeds. So
I can certainly appreciate that. And Lydia is the CEO of her own company now. So
excellent. That makes me happy.
She made it out okay, right? She's got her own company. But the struggle is real when I went through being pregnant and having to come back from maternity leave and having to hop on a plane. And I share a story on LinkedIn where, they threw out my breast milk and I about lost my mind. And I thought they were going to take me away in a straitjacket and the rest of my life was never going to be the same. So traveling while you're a mom and trying to pump and some like the struggle, or the time my breast leaked out all over at a meeting. And the look on my, my CEO's face, who happened to be traveling with me at the time. And so like there so much around like that early motherhood and work. Still, even with all of the progress we made, still there's a lot of work to be done. You know, I've been in you know, you said you've been in sales since the 90s. I was in SaaS, you know, I used to I made a joke today to someone. My first time logging into Salesforce was actually while I was selling green screen DOS software. And so here I am logging into my SaaS system to track my pipeline. That was my green screen, like DOS. Like we're talking just keys.
I remember when my first child, my husband, who's still here, will recall this, but my water broke, and I was supposed to be in that day doing a huge sales meeting. And while my husband was running around like an absolute crazy maniac, I was on the phone coordinating with everybody to be sure that they were 100% prepped and ready so that we wouldn't disappoint the client. And we were running it. So we were driving in, and actually the client, who was a woman, which sometimes women aren't always the kindest to each other. Sometimes women are, I think, you know, can be more challenging, which is probably a LinkedIn Live for another day. But she was so mad at me. She was angry, and she was yelling at me on the phone that she was upset because I wasn't going to be in this meeting. I'm like, don't worry about it. You got it handled, right? Like everything's okay. And but it was devastating, right? And so, but the meeting went off, and we ended up winning the business. And this client happened to work for Little Tykes. And at the end, when we got home with our first child, 2 days later, a huge truck, Little Tykes truck, drove up to the front of my house, and they started unloading every single Little Tykes toy that you can imagine. She sent everything for our baby, so it's kind of cool.
That's an awesome
story.
I love that. I'm just
and breastfeeding while you're doing sales calls. We got pictures of that. How many have done that? Go on, raise your hand. Eugene, I'm sure. No. But
yeah, but Dave and I will sit this one out. But
Eugene,
Heidi, how many of you have done it from the hospital room?
Yeah, well, that's true too. So, you know, and we had a reverse household. So I was the sales executive traveling around the world, and my husband was a stay-at-home dad for 15 years. So
I think also a flip side to some of the horror stories about, you know, being a mom and being in sales is there's also some really good stories, because you build great relationships with clients to where they become personal friends. And I mean, I've got several clients now that when I had my first child, they were sending gifts every year. They're sending something, you know, I'm text messaging pictures of, you know, how they're growing up, and they're wanting to know what all the kids are doing. And so building those relationships and having them become personal friends of yours is awesome. It is an awesome thing. And, you know, they care for you just like you care for them. You know, you start getting into conversations of, you know, oh, I'm running this marathon. Do you want to support? And then they're supporting you in some of your personal aspirations as well. So it's a great thing.
You know what I love about that, though? But because when you think about dispelling the negative myths and perception of sales, it's really about relationships, right? And to me, that's what it is, because you don't have that kind of relationship, Jawanda, with your clients unless you've truly built trust. And it just shows that sales isn't about coming in and just selling somebody something that they don't need. It's truly about building long-term partnerships.
Yeah, I think absolutely that's been correct. A consistent theme through everyone. That relationship building and being able to develop, you know, deeper relationships. And I almost think that's one of our superpowers.
Right. I was going to say, I think women, that's something, it's a strength of ours, is that emotional side of things, to where we can tap into that. And, you know, it's like a lot of us have kind of gone about saying it's where you have to strategize and figure out how to go about doing it the right way. Because there are, you know, there are the men that are very much so going to be at the top, but you're like, I'm going to win. I'm going to do this better. But you want to cheer for those people too. I received a book recently from an amazing guy from Asana. He sent this book for my girls to read, and which is so cool. I mean, never pitched him. He never pitched me. It was nothing like that. It was literally, how can I support you? And so today I sent a book over to his 4 little girls. And so I sent a book his way, just to say, hey, let's help each other grow. And so I think that there's something to say in regards to all of this too, that there are those allies that do matter tremendously when it comes to us women in sales. But you do have to fight for showing up for who you are, and it doesn't come overnight. So the biggest thing is just keep grinding, keep doing it, feel the fear, do it anyways.
100%. And I also say, I would also add that, like, find your tribe of people who like celebrate your success, not look at it and resent it, or like look at it and go, lean into jealousy or lean into something. You find the people who like truly want to see you succeed, are ready there to cheer you on. It's so important, because without those people, it's like you have to build a community, build a tribe.
Especially working from home too. It's hard, it's a virtual world. It's where, what do? You LinkedIn is where the tribe is being built. There's other communities and whatnot, but this is the tribe that I feel. I mean, these women who have come together, this tribe has been absolutely incredible, and it's come from LinkedIn. It's come from having these authentic connections with people who have said, I've got your back. I've been in your place. I've been in your shoes, whatever it may be. Or just simply, how can I support you? And I love your content, whatever it is. But it's so awesome to see, because all of these women, all of us, every single person, we've all engaged with each other's stuff on LinkedIn, our content, and we've just pushed each other to be better than we were the day before. And it's an incredible opportunity. Absolutely. So Heidi, thank you. Seriously. Thank you.
That's why I love, because, not everybody, a few of you knew each other, right? So there were sort of pockets of people that knew each other. I've known Jeanette for years, but the way that we have come together as a community over this last couple of months of putting together this book has been absolutely incredible. I mean, it's just to see the support and the love and it's just, I have to be honest, that's not something that I had originally, sort of anticipated or thought about, but yeah, everybody's really come together to support each other. I love that.
So one thing I want to tap into is something Heidi said, as well as Jen, when you building your community, right? And a lot of times women in sales, women in positions of power, we come in 2 flavors. Either we're going to uplift or we're going to tear down. And I can remember interviewing for a job, and we went to lunch, and I was talking about my son. And the hiring manager went back and said, well, she has a son. I'm not sure she's going to be able to do this job. And then the person who was my internal ally said, this job is custom made for Wesleyan. There is no better person to do this role than her. And so really, she was an ally. And when you have an ally that's speaking for you at the table when you're not there, that's what, as women in sales, that we need. And that's how we're going to elevate the profession. Finding those allies, those people that are speaking for us when we're not around, because that's the only way we're going to go from being an SDR to being a VP of sales to being a CSO eventually, because we need that internal support.
Too often it was one spot, right? You had one spot at the top for a woman. And so it was very much, that was going to be secured. And there's so much more room at the table as long as we're uplifting each other, and having a sponsor and a mentor is very important. So I agree 100% with you.
Yep, and if you're not being served at that table, you take your chair and you go to another table where you're served.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%, because I promise you there's plenty of room out there. Whether you think that there isn't because you don't see the light of day because you're stuck wherever you're at, I promise you things work out in some way, shape, or form. And I absolutely have lived that, breathed that 100%. So you got to keep on keeping on day by day, stair by stair, one stair at a time, not the whole staircase. That's all you tackle.
And I would kind of wrap that with, don't get discouraged if you face someone who isn't on your team, who isn't your cheerleader, who doesn't want to see you succeed. There are those people in life that will hold you down, that will say things about you or your work or make you feel like you have to work twice as hard, these things that we have in our brain, but everyone's not like that. And just like when somebody says, no, I don't want to buy from you, it's the same thing. There may be somebody internally like, no, I don't want to promote them. And like Amelia said, okay, I'll get promoted somewhere else. You don't need to promote me. I'll get promoted somewhere else. So don't just take that negativity and internalize it, because a lot of times as women in general, we take those things that are thrown at us and we internalize them. And then they stop us, and it stunts our growth in our career, and we don't continue moving up. And so one thing that I'm so excited that Heidi brought us all together is like, oh, you said something about this one person, you have 32 people about to jump on you. And like you're gonna squash it, literally. So you gotta have that pride.
You do. I would say just take everything as a challenge. You know, those that want to challenge you, take it as a challenge. As like, okay, if you're belittled or whatever it is, so much easier said than done. Once again, right? I could preach this to the choir all day, but preacher's daughter. That's why probably. But it's where if you honestly just look at everything and you say, okay, I've got the cards stacked against me, but that's okay, because you know what? There's another day tomorrow, and I'm going to be a little bit better tomorrow. I'm going to shift my mindset. I'm going to sleep. I'm going to take care of me and pick back up tomorrow. I'm going to pick myself up.
I would add there, though, that if something is not serving you and you're in a place where you're not getting the support you need and you don't have the champions, that there are other companies out there that the cost of staying in a toxic work environment or in an environment that isn't going to, and I'm not talking like you had a bad day. I'm talking like I've done all I can do and they don't see me, is different than, a bad day. Yeah. And so there are plenty of places out there that are supportive, that will give you, that have champions, that will support you in your journey, that will mentor you and want to see you succeed and celebrate your success. And it's worth it to take the time to go find those places and to go learn and to build your personal brand and to meet as many people as possible, because that's how you can get ahead. In my career, invested a lot of time in places that did not serve me well. And the long-term cost is expensive. I'll leave it at that. Shawanda, we haven't heard from you yet. So share.
All right. Well, I think you all just talked about my chapter and everything that you just said. So, but introducing myself, I am a vice president of sales, and I met Heidi, I guess probably close to when she first started Girls Who Sell, and this is the very first time that I am sharing my story about how I got into B2B sales and how I enjoy it and how I love it. And so the goal that I wanted to present in my chapter, the title of my chapter is Fear, Face Everything and Rise. And I think you all have heard that quote. It is definitely a quote or a sentence that has been said that I really live my B2B career by, along with some other quotes, because I'm a really big quote person and motivational type person. But being an African-American woman, okay, so African-American and woman in a male-dominated industry, fear is certainly something that I experienced during my career. fear is also, we all know, it's a feeling that all of us have had at one point in our life at another, right? And in sales, that is, it could be transitioning into sales for the first time, like a couple of you are here. It could be getting promoted, right? And it also could be just taking on additional responsibilities that you've never done before. And we probably question ourselves several times, am I going to be successful in this role? And am I going to make an impact to an organization or a group of people? With that, in my particular role, I am in kind of like a player coach role where, I lead a team and I'm responsible for a team target, but at the same time, I'm an individual contributor. So I've got to hit 2 targets. And the books say you cannot do that. There is so much conflict of interest. You cannot lead and also sell at the same time. And I always used to look at that and, at first, I had fear, but then once I started really thinking about, okay, face everything and rise, the motto in my head came and said, okay, watch me work. Okay, watch me do this now. And so that's what I did. And so, asking yourself those questions, the answer is yes, you will make an impact and you will succeed in whatever it is that you put your mind to. And you're going to reap the benefits by seeing yourself rise and continue to grow to that next level, right? So my whole goal with the chapter was helping, people to get in front of fear, right? And start to think about that word in a different way. And it's again, facing everything and rising, okay? You may want to start with, again, having self-affirmations in the very beginning of your day to say, yes, I can, I'm going to do this. This is going to be a great day. I'm going to make everything work for me in my favor and all of that. Then having those strict, schedules and timelines and managing your time and prioritizing what really needs to get done and minimizing those distractions. That's something we all have to go through, right? And then bringing your whole and authentic self to work, right? Giving 150% of whatever task, project, or job that you have accepted and you've committed to. It will show. Others will see it and they will see you, right? And then focus on what you can control and what you can influence, because there are certain things, and trust me, I have done it all the time, where I cannot control that, but I'm trying to figure out how I control it, but there's ways that you can influence and focus on those things. And then the last thing, and this is something I always tell people, is to always be perfecting your craft. I don't care how long you've been in B2B sales or whatever profession it is that you're in, there is always room for growth. There's always best practices out there. And even just working with these ladies, I feel like I've known them for over several years when I've only known them for several months. But I will quickly call on someone and say, Jen, I need to talk to you. I need some help with onboarding, or, oh my God, Jeanette, I need some help with such and such, because I'm taking all of our experiences and, putting them together as we are a team. And so having the village of women in sales along with your other pods and your other villages is going to help you to continue to move forward and to rise and to grow. So again, my whole thing is, the next time you hear or you feel fear, think about it in facing everything and rising. Don't be afraid. Go for it, because you're going to do well.
I love that. Let me ask you, how are you, what would you recommend for perfecting your craft? Like, what do you do to sort of master your craft?
Yeah, so I am, there are a ton of free tutorials, free webinars, getting involved with different podcasts that are out there that are talking about sales tips and different ways to do things. Connecting with thought leaders in the community of sales, and just understanding, having that honest self-examination is a really huge thing for you. So you really need to examine yourself and say, what do I think I can really work on better? Okay, maybe it's prospecting. All right, let me find out what kind of prospecting videos and talk to people that, are experts in prospecting to find some best practices in what I can do. So doing that, and then joining communities. There are a ton of women in sales communities out there, like Girls Who Sell, There's AAISP, there's National Association of Women Sales Professionals. There's so many Women Sales Club. I can name them. I could probably go down the whole list, but that'll take all day. Looking for those communities and signing up and being a part of it, and ask questions, ask, because guess what? We're in sales, and if you don't ask the question, the answer is always no. I've always said that.
100%.
So I'm one person that loves to ask those questions. I think I may have rubbed off on my kids. I've got 3 kids, 2 are girls, and when COVID hit, they wanted to get a dog, and I was like, oh, I don't know about a dog. Although growing up, I had dogs all the time, so my mom and dad were probably like, how are you not gonna get your kids a dog when we had dogs for you all the time? So they actually came together with a PowerPoint presentation to me and my husband about why they needed a dog, and they researched the dogs, and these are the kind of dogs that we should get. This is the best dog we should get. Now, we did not get that dog, but we got 2 dogs instead of 1 dog. Very well. So I was
There
like,
you go. Our future sales leaders.
Yeah, way to close, girls.
Yeah, I got a PowerPoint about a dog too. They didn't close me.
They closed me and then closed me for more money than what I decided I was going to first purchase. But yeah, it's a lovely thing just to see that. And it was an example to them to say, guys, you are always selling. Everyone sells because you're persuading somebody to do something, and you just sold me and Dad.
It's a life skill, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I completely relate that, because when I brought to my attention that I should go into B2B spells, I was like, what are you talking about? But then I realized I've been selling my whole career. I just didn't know it. It wasn't getting paid for it.
Absolutely.
It wasn't getting paid.
It's not getting paid for it.
Right.
Whether it's getting your kids to eat their vegetables or getting them to go to bed at night, everything is sales. Jesse here says, this is great. I'm excited about the book. I've been recommending it to my friends. Jesse, that is awesome. We are so happy to hear that. My daughter will read it when she's old enough too. Jesse, how old is your daughter? Love to find that out. And he agrees about community.
Yeah, I was saying we'll have to get her some Girls Who Sell Junior Ambassador certificates.
She's a few months old. I do know that.
Yeah.
I know she's
a few months. Oh,
yeah.
okay. That might be a little young, but
she's got the genes. I know that. So
she can get it in advance. Jesse, make sure you reach out to Heidi and get that certificate. You never know when that might come in handy, because they start selling Girl Scouts in kindergarten. This is my first year where I didn't have a cookie quota. So
I haven't experienced that yet, but my youngest daughter, who's 5, she will end a lot of things on and so it's a assumptive close all the time. Mommy, can we just run to Target? I just want to look at something. Yeah. And I'm like,
I love it.
2.5 months. Okay, Jesse, I like it.
There you go.
But it's cool. It's, I don't think I do that. Maybe I do, and I don't realize that. But she's just, it's in her, I don't know if it's in her blood or what, but it's where that children have this, I don't know, they automatically assume like, okay, maybe if I ask in this way or this, children are very smart. They pick things up. Even 2.5 months, I don't know. They're not doing too much then, but not sleeping. But it's where you,
her first words will be sass.
Probably sassy.
So perfect.
No.
So if you haven't gotten the book, go out and get the book. Yeah.
Yeah. Go get the book. Yeah. Exactly. That's the whole. Yeah. Are you going to get the book? Yeah. That's the question for everyone, right?
Now, I went through Never Split the Difference, Kick. That was one of my favorite sales books for a while. So my kids got into the habit of mirroring me, like the mirror. And I'm like, oh, gosh. Like, you mirror enough, right? And then they're like, oh, really? Tell me more.
I pick it up.
Yeah.
Hey, Jen, can I make a quick comment? Because I know we're almost at the top of the hour. First of all, I got everything I wanted and some. Wow, what words of wisdom from you ladies. And you might want to stay away from me or I'd be bankrupt, because whatever you're selling, I'd be buying with the inspirational, stories from all of you women. Thank you. But two real quick things. One, since Heidi, you especially catering to younger women, I think we talked about the used car salesman perception and just what is sales. And what I would love to identify for all people, but certainly for women in particular, is, Jen, you referred to relationships and relationship building and just being sort of astute and aware as a superpower of women. And I couldn't agree more, right? My wife wishes I had a little bit more of this. And this is what sales is. So we also gave examples of what everyone's selling, but really, if you were to ask anyone some of those typical questions you think we ask, what's your pain, or how can I help you? And no one would really resonate with that or answer that, or they'd look at you funny because there's no relationship, there's no trust, there's no really empathy or understanding. And women do that so well, have such a diverse experience in doing that. So I would say learn more about what sales is and find those mentors, as you women have shared, that can tell you a little bit about what it really looks like. The other thing, just one last quick thing, I know Heidi and team are doing a book signing, and I just want to throw an open offer out there. You could either find me, Eugene Shim, on LinkedIn, or you can find any of these ladies and they'll find me on LinkedIn. But if you are in Boston, and Heidi, I think you have a couple of other places, but in particular for Boston, when you share the details, any woman, and I work at a company where we're looking for women, but it's not about my company, that are looking into going into sales, you're curious, open invite on me. I will pay for your book registration fee for Heidi. I hope she sends me a big bill. So I throw it out there, show up and support the ladies, learn a lot more. And I want to quickly thank you. So thank you for letting me get that out there, but I want to make sure I can.
Oh, that is amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Wow. I'll be happy to send you a big bill.
I don't think Bryn had an opportunity to share.
Oh, Bryn, real fast.
I have to jump, and I feel really bad at the top of the hour. But the one thing I'm going to say, because I think, my journey in sales, I love sales because it's a relationship focused business. It's about problem solving. And I'll say 3 quick things. Number 1, to do it well, we have to detach from what the prospect is worth to us and attach to what we are worth to the prospect. If we can't do that, then they know that we're in it for the sale, not for the solution. The second thing is we have to stop the pitch. I've heard LinkedIn mentioned many times. That's what I do. The connect and pitch is a bait and switch. Stop treating the people on the other side of the message as a lead. They are the same person as if they were on the other side of the table. Treat them as human beings. And number 3, stop talking about your stuff. Start sharing content and insights that impact people. Start the conversation. Don't try to close a sale. I have to jump. I thank you so much. I can't wait to see everyone in Boston. I'm just honored to be part of this. Heidi, you are phenomenal, and you have really started a movement, and I am absolutely honored to be part of this. Thank you.
Thanks, Bryn. See you in Boston.
And those were some great comments to wrap up on.
Amazing.
All very true. It's about the value you bring. So let's talk about Boston for a second. Hopefully, we've got people who will join us over in Boston, and we've got Eugene's wonderful offer. But join us in Boston. When we wrap up, I'm just going to share the information on the screen about the Boston event, and a special thank you to the sponsors. Heidi, if you want to talk about the sponsors for a moment.
Yeah, we have a lot of, so we mentioned, Shawanda mentioned a couple of organizations, and we do have a lot of them that are involved with this. Of course, Brighter with Eugene, but we also have Lead IQ, we have Drift, we have Fathom, we have Women's Sales Pros, we have Sales Hacker. Who am I missing? I should have brought a list. And of course, the Doors Group and my husband with the Doors Group, his real estate firm, and all of the ladies there have been incredibly supportive of this. Outreach IO, who also owns Sales Hacker, so they're a huge sponsor of this. So without our sponsors and the support from them, we really wouldn't be able to make this happen. And Eugene mentioned earlier, we are going to be in Boston on March 4th at More Than Words bookstore from 5 to 7. Jen will drop the information, the registration link, but we'll be in Dallas in July. And then we'll be in LA for Women in Sales Month in October, doing a big splash out there. And then we have our virtual launch on International Women's Day on March 8th. So Jen, I think you have that link too, but we could drop that. So whoever can't get to a face-to-face event, you can join us virtually. And we'd love to have you.
Yep. Thank you to everyone who joined us. I'm going to make sure that I go through the comments and see who won the book for the giveaway and be sure to send that out. I haven't got my copies yet, but one of my colleagues reached out to me and let me know that she had ordered it on Amazon and she had got it like the very next day. Just pictures of stuff in my chapter. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm waiting for my books.
That was really a thrill. We were on our weekly meeting. We do a weekly team meeting with everybody, and Bridget, our publisher, with BMC Talks Press, got to give her a shout out. She's done a phenomenal job, but she brought it up on Barnes and Noble and Walmart and Amazon and all these things. I was like, oh my God, it's real. And it's just beautiful. The book is just beautiful. So thank you all for sharing your stories and for leaving yourself so vulnerable. And I know that you're just going to have a huge impact on young women.
Yeah, and one more shout out really quick. Jen herself is also one of our amazing co-authors, and I know that she did not get to share too much of her story because she is hosting this, but Jen, thank you so much for hosting this platform, and you are one of our amazing jewels in this group as well. So thank you.
Oh,
Jen,
no,
I'm phenomenal.
Thank all of you.
I'm happy to share. Besides, every time people join me on LinkedIn Live, I tend to always share. I mean, I think I shared 3 stories just on commenting. So I'm happy to have you, and I'm honored that you all joined me and that that you took the time to do this. So thank you to everybody. I'm going to populate the screen with the information about Boston and play a little music, but we'll also drop all of the links in the chat. So hopefully you can meet us in person in real life because I'm so excited to go to Boston.
Jen, as Florida girls, what do? We don't know. We don't know yet.
I have boots.
I have
heels in your
boots.
I got to figure out a jacket. I've got boots, but that's it.
If there's some great winter sales going on, so we're all going shopping during our free time.
Yep.
Well, that's what it is. If you're cold, you just go buy some clothes. It'll be fine.
It's fine.
It's really easy.
Figure out a bowl.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Jen. Really appreciate it. Bye, everybody.